Welcome to the Career Growth Podcast. I'm your host, Kailas. This is where we talk about all things related to career, your personal and professional development. All industries are seeing major transformations in 2024. I know we've only just started, but we are seeing this happen in real time. And of course, digital marketing is also seeing its own fair share of transformations. And getting used to it, adapting to it might be a little difficult, which is why we have Chloe Sims, marketing manager at Ripple, here with us today to talk about what you will need to kick off your career in marketing this year. Hi, Chloe. It has been a while. You've been on this show with us before, and it's been a few months since then. So, how have you been?
Hi, thank you so much for having me back on. It's an absolute pleasure. Yeah, it's actually been a whirlwind since the last time I was on, because I'd obviously only recently started my position whenever we first spoke. But since then, I've taken on a part-time intern, and I've started a new B2B specific marketing strategy course, and we're in the process of hiring a new content creator apprentice. And I think I've also done a sustainability module as well thrown in there too. There's been a lot, but it's been a lot of fun. Time flies when you're having fun, when they say.
You've been very, very busy. That's what I'm getting. Like, I do recall that you had only just started your role as marketing manager at Ripple when we last spoke. But of course, it's been half a year since then. And you even took on like you mentioned, you took on an assistant at that time. Has it been a while since then? Was it like shortly after we spoke?
Yeah, so we took our part-time intern on, I think it was October time, and then it was a 2-month internship. And it was
Right.
really exciting. So it was basically for content creation, support on social side.
Right.
It was only part-time, 2 days a week, but it just gave us good flexibility with what we needed and the support that I needed for my role. And I just think it was a really cost-effective resource for like the support that we needed on the day-to-day projects as well. And it was quite nice for me because obviously on the run up to Christmas, there's a lot of stuff that we need to prep and get sorted and scheduled in while we're off on the break. So it was just a really good decision, I think, to get someone in for that. And obviously it was a win-win situation because they got the experience that they needed to.
Absolutely. I think like November, December, busiest time.
Yeah.
One of the busiest times of the year in terms of content creation.
Mm-hmm.
And having extra hands on deck is definitely helpful. And it just got me thinking because we did speak about this before briefly about what hiring expectations are going in 2024. Do you think that at the time, since you were hiring towards the latter end of 2023, did your hiring expectations change as well for marketing?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's been a massive shift. I think, especially when you're hiring for an intern or an apprentice, you have to kind of balance that expectation of, okay, they might not have any direct experience, but what do they know? What have they educated themselves about? What industry experience can be passed on as relative to the role, because it might not necessarily be direct industry experience, but do they have a page themselves? Have they taken it upon themselves and used their initiative to go and create content for, say, an example brand? Anything like that, I think, was always key for me to determine, and just really showing that initiative was really important.
100%. And I think that even like from our own experience, I think we've started a few years ago. No shade, no shade. We've been in this industry for a bit. I mean that in the best way
Not
possible.
making me feel old, okay? Like, there's no need. I did not come here to be attacked.
I did not mean to attack you. And look, I lumped myself in with you when I said that. Okay, I am not. No shade.
You're
That's the first
projecting,
thing I
yeah. You're
said.
projecting. I don't stand for it.
Just a bit, just a bit. Okay, I do feel old, and that's because I'm seeing these trends
Yeah.
emerging, and I feel like what I was expected to do for my role is also evolving very
Mm-hmm.
rapidly. It's a little scary, and it's really interesting to see like people who are way younger than me, who are just entering the field, come up to me and say things like, "Oh, I have this kind of experience. These are the tools I use, tools that may have not even existed 4 or 5 years ago. And they seem to have this like vast skill set now. And I'm just, I guess, not envious, maybe just a little bit concerned.
Mhm.
Should I be catching up as well? So that's why I'm also kind of like, we need a toolkit for 2024 going forward, and we need to know what is happening. And that's what this podcast is all about. We learn together. Knowledge sharing. Let's go. So, Chloe, I'm pretty sure you would have noticed from your own experience several marketing trends emerging. So, a few of them were emerging in 2023. A few of them are set to be, rolled out in 2024. What are some of the trends that you've noticed that you think is going to dominate in 2024?
Yeah, so I don't think TikTok's going anywhere, no surprise. I was trying my best to avoid becoming a TikTok user for so long, and that completely went out the window. I think so much more and more people are using it, especially people our ages, because obviously it was a big Gen Z thing at the start. And now I feel like the uptake is becoming more prominent in different demographics as well. So there's that, and then I think Be Real. I think that is on a massive growth curve at the minute. I remember downloading it last year or year before last, and I was really on the hype.
Same.
Yeah, I was really on the hype whenever I first started it, and then I don't know, I just kind of died off it. But now I've noticed it's creeping up a little bit more, and I quite like the way you get to like visit old memories, and it's the authenticity of it for me. And I think that that's what people are lacking in a lot of the other social platforms. And I think it's about, you only have to scroll on it for a certain amount of time. It's a bit limiting in what you can actually do with it, and some people are requiring that because they're aware that they're spending way too much time on social media. Um,
Oh, yeah.
it's crazy. Like honestly, my
Old
screen
story.
time. I kind of tell myself it's for my job. It's okay, but it's actually not. Like, my screen time is ridiculous. Like if I put those hours into exercising, I'd be a different person.
I can totally relate. And I do think that that kind of also ties into this other question that I had about social media platforms popping up. Be Real was one that, like you mentioned, a year or two ago, was when we actually signed up for it. I was very confused at first as to what the point of this was, but internally, when we were using it internally, it became a lot clearer. And there are other platforms that are popping up, and some of them have actually been around for a bit, but started to gain prominence after shifts in the traditional, not traditional, I guess the right word would be like the most popular social media platforms that we've been using, aka Twitter, now X, for example. So that gave way to other platforms, to grab a slice of that, the share, customer base. And one thing is like Threads, uh, big deal for a short bit, but nobody really knows where it's going. And I guess that's the thing about it is we don't really know what to focus on, what's worth focusing on until you've actually studied the platform, its audience, and how they're just performing in general. But do you believe that any other social media platforms would like some that are a bit underexposed? Do you think that any of them might actually take the crown this year? I know we're talking about it like it's some kind of like reality show, like some game show, but
Reality
like a
TV
game show.
stereotype. You're speaking my
Who's gonna
language. Yeah.
win?
I don't really know in terms of necessarily there being a winner. I think Instagram will always be around as with Facebook, but how you use it and who uses it is always what's going to change, and that's the parameter. And I think in marketing, it's identifying where your customer is, and that's the importance. Like I can't remember, is it Mad I don't know how to pronounce.
Mastodon?
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
So I've only started to hear wind of that recently, but I think it's really interesting. Like it being a non-profit, and it's this whole like you interact with people based on the server that you choose, isn't it? So it's quite nice
Yeah.
because you can get like I think that community feel, and I think it's that more personal and direct conversation that you can have with people on a platform like that. People are missing, I think, especially after. I know I don't like to bring it up too much, but like COVID and everything, it's that community based
Yeah.
element that people are searching for, and I think something like that can definitely provide that. So I think it's definitely one to watch for future growth. But in terms of a winner, I don't know because it's like Gen Z, they're always jumping onto the new things, and obviously like there's going to be a new generation soon, like of people before them. I don't know what they're called, but I know they're coming.
Let's not talk about them. They do not exist. No one was born after 2004 according to me.
I feel you.
That's where we cap it off. That is it.
Yeah,
Sorry. I don't believe in anyone born after 2004. Y'all aren't real.
no.
No offense. I'm just joking. Just in case. I know that, like, I think that also ties in with the attention span situation.
Yeah,
But I think we'll get to that. I think we'll get to that soon,
yeah,
quite soon, because this is part of a bigger conversation, the
yeah.
attention span bit. Because there's something else that is hot topic right now, like a major hot
Mhm.
topic, and that is AI.
Yeah,
AI isn't just, it's not just ChatGPT. It's no longer science fiction, and it's no longer just, guesses. Of course, we have true AI that is actually capable of, the true artificial intelligence. And what we have right now, stuff like ChatGPT, which is programmed to provide you with, like the information that you can ask. It is trained on data sets, so on and so forth. That's what we have right now. It's not true artificial intelligence, but they've already shown their capabilities and room to sort of expand things, the areas to explore and build on. And how do you feel about it? Are you also, like, which side of the fence are you on when it comes to AI? What are your thoughts?
it's so funny because all my friends used to call me like PC, like politically correct. They were like, "You're always on the fence, like you're never picking a side." But with this, I love AI. I think it's fascinating.
Yeah.
I think if you're on the fence for it, you need to, or on the side of the fence for it, you need to grow with it, not try and fight it. And I think that's where the sweet spot is at the minute. Obviously, there's going to be rapid advances, like we've already come so far with it, but it's like it's like I remember chatting about like computers and stuff. Like my mum with her saying she was so scared of computers and like she never wanted to like uptake it, and there was so much fear mongering
Yeah.
around it. And like look at where we are now. Like it's like yourself, you're able to go and work wherever you want in the world. It's amazing. You're able to work with people. Like we're speaking from different countries. Um, and I just think it can be a real asset to roles like in Ripple at the minute, like we do retail design, and we're using it to like facilitate the design process, and like our customers are loving it. Like they just find it so fascinating that we're using something, and it's not even like an advanced program. It's text based. You just feed it through information, and it kind of spurts out the design. Um,
Yeah.
and I think obviously it needs the human element to be able to create something, and it's facilitating it all. And I don't think if you have help there, why not use it? That's my opinion on it, really. And then in terms of marketing, I think it's really revolutionizing marketing strategies, like from the personalization aspects, like hyper personalization is going to be massive. And I think just even like from efficiency of content creation, even to like customer interactions and how we deal with customers and get things sorted. I just think the efficiency capabilities are incredible.
Yes, efficiency seems to be the number one, pro of AI. Every single person, like professional in marketing that I've spoken to, like, has told me, "Oh, it just makes my life a little bit easier every day."
Yeah.
The mundane tasks, the stuff that I really don't want to be wasting my time on. That's what it's taking away, and I'm really happy about it. Of course, there's people who are just sort of like, okay, fine, it's super useful and so on, but what about the ethics of it all? What about there is no framework for how AI content can be used, or what kind of data it can actually be trained on, and so
Mhm.
on and so forth, which is a legitimate, like, it's a legitimate concern.
Yeah.
But AI is not going to go away because of that. It's just that we need to find a way to kind of grow with it, like you said. And it needs to be a mutually beneficial situation here, because of course we're not looking for AI to replace human beings. We're just looking to improve our
Yeah.
lives. That's the point. It needs to be helping us,
Mhm.
which is quite fair, I think. Of course, like you said, I do remember, because it's not about the computer situation, because my parents, I think they were pretty like pro utilizing the computer, internet, and so on, but they were really afraid about online purchases.
Yeah.
For the longest time, they refused to like use their details to buy their card details to buy anything
Yeah.
online. And then eventually, when COVID happened, they were like, "There's no way I can go outside my house to buy things." I'm like, you know what you gotta do now. You know what you have to do.
Yeah.
And then they were on board. Of course, situations arise, and we kind of need to adapt to it. That's the whole point of technology.
Yeah, exactly.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
I think it's kind of a bit like sustainability as well. It's all about governance and who it's kind of trying to decide who's actually responsible for this. Like, is it the people at the top making all the decisions, or is it us as consumers and users of things and what we feed to that? Like, because
yeah,
obviously the issues that arise with AI, like it's a learning program. It feeds on what we feed it and what we tell it to teach us, if that makes sense. Um,
absolutely.
and I
Yeah.
think it's those parameters trying to determine that's the big issue, I think, at the minute, and that's probably what's causing the fear.
Yes, definitely. And I guess closer to home, one of the biggest fears that we have is we have SEO concerns. Basically, thanks to SGE, or the Search Generative Experience, Google's SGE, the way we handle search, the way we are going to find information, like in the near future, is going to change dramatically. And everyone's kind of scrambling a bit to figure out how they're going to actually push their content to the top, how they're going to rank now, how they're going to get people to actually visit their website and not like see a massive drop in click-through rates and so on.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, how are you feeling about it? What are you doing to sort of address this, situation?
Yeah, like, well, I don't have any like direct. I'm not like an expert in SEO or anything like that, but we work with SEO experts. Like, we outsource to them at Ripple. Um, but I think it's quite exciting that it's no longer about keyword optimization alone. I think sometimes when you're doing the whole keyword research, it can feel quite forced sometimes, like in terms of the content that you have to create for Google to be able to rank you. And I think with like SGE, I think it does provide an opportunity to create content that better meets users' needs. I think there is that fear of, right, well, you know, like it's going to create it better for us and we're going to drop and no one's ever going to see our page. But I think it's compounding on everything that Google already wants us to do. It's that like EAT, like expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. I think that's the most important thing. And I think that's the approach that I've been taking with the content that we've been putting, because we're undergoing like web optimization at the minute. And I think if you take those three things and approach content with that, then it's a guessing game at the minute. But I
Yep.
feel like it sets us off in the right foot anyway. I think until it kicks in properly and there's reports and we can determine what it wants and what it doesn't want, you won't know until then, really.
Absolutely. I think that, even in the past, when we were talking about SEO strategies in the industry, it took a bit of learning, working with it in order to actually improve
Yeah.
and find ways to, dominate. But I think right now, we don't really have a clear path forward, but we might. You never know.
Yeah,
A lot of smart people in this field.
exactly.
I'm just going to leave it to them and wait till one of them writes a very lengthy blog on it. or a YouTube essay,
That's,
like a video
that's what
essay.
I'm waiting for too. I'm like, I'm just gonna ride the
Mhm.
wave until now, until someone has the answers.
Somebody else. No, no. But of course, like on the technical side of things, there are tons of things going on. Of course, like the shift to GA4
Mm,
last year as well. But I did realize that we're also seeing a major change in how we consume content and what type of content and where we consume it.
yeah,
For I think that I was on LinkedIn. I've been on LinkedIn for a while, for a few years now, but I didn't really use LinkedIn the way I'm using it now. It's really interesting to see how LinkedIn has evolved as a platform and the rise of these B2B influencers. That's something that even like I think you have some experience in. Want to talk a bit about it as well because this is interesting because like there are names, there are people to follow, and they're like, oh, go follow this person on LinkedIn. This person posts about this topic a lot and they're very popular and they have so many followers and they always have this like fresh content which is cool, but I just want to sort of be, I'm on LinkedIn to initially, like I was using LinkedIn to find
yeah,
jobs or show people that I'm a real person, please hire me. That's shifted now. It's a proper social platform. What do you think?
yeah.
How do you feel about this?
It's shifted dramatically, and I feel like there is pressure from that as well. To be honest, I think, but this is the thing. Like compared to other social platforms, the amount of people that are actually putting themselves out there on LinkedIn is so minor compared to the amount of people
Hmm.
that are actually on the platform. So I think there's so much opportunity to stand out. Like if you find your niche and you talk about it consistently, like you're eventually going to be seen as that go-to person for that thing. Still haven't figured out what my thing is yet, but I'll talk about it one day whenever I get it. But I think it's really exciting. I think it's an opportunity even for businesses and how they portray themselves. Because I was speaking with sales, and obviously the sales funnel has changed dramatically. Like marketing didn't used to be as big of an impact
Yeah.
on B2B anyway. B2C is different. Um, but on B2B sales, like marketing has such an influence now compared to what it did have. And I think like influencer marketing being dominant, it can drive brand awareness. Like it has that credible side, and ultimately all of that just drives to sales as well. And like anything, it's like reading reviews or chatting to a friend. It's those peer-to-peer recommendations that always give trust to the buyer. Um, but yeah, I think there does have some issues around if you're being an influencer for a brand or your business that you're working for, it's defining those parameters. Because like what if you leave that business, or what if you say something that they don't agree with, and it's stuff like that. It's the influencer side, that's that part, but then there's obviously the your own personal brand, and that's totally different. If it's kind of like, how do you define your own personal brand when you already have your job and your role? Because what I've noticed is a lot of like the personal branders, it's always like the majority of them are freelancers, or they want to attract sales for themselves. And I think it's trying to find that right balance between, look, I'm obviously gonna talk about myself and my work, um, but how do I still portray the company and drive the company goals? And like it, because at
True.
that point it nearly becomes like brand evangelism. Like you're getting access to their audience, and you're getting rewarded for that. But then if politics can come into it too, like corporate politics, it can be hard. But I think the most
Yeah.
important thing from all that is like that first party data source that you can get from making those connections and building that um, audience, like leveraging those. Like you're gonna gain so much from that. Like even just for an example, it's not even related to the whole LinkedIn thing, but I done client insight interviews earlier in the year, and the amount of resource insights that I got from the industry and what people are going through and how they're buying things. You get a real insight into the top of the funnel and all of the difficulties and channels that like or challenges that people are going through. And like you can use all of that then to target new people. Like I think first party data is going to be incredible and it's going to be needed so much more. And I think there's so much value in it that people don't even realize right now. Sorry, I kind of went on for
Absolutely.
ages.
No, no, that's perfectly fine. That's kind of what we want, as much information as possible. Uh, but which is the next point, because it's not just where we're consuming this content. It's not just who's delivering this content to us. It's also how we're receiving this content, how this content is packaged visually, all our senses included. I feel like there are multiple sources of stimuli now for the younger generation, and I find myself adapting to that as well, because when I sit down to eat, initially I needed to watch something while I ate. But now I'm eating, I'm playing a game on my phone, and I'm watching something at the same time. I'm
Yeah,
not even joking. I need this to be able to truly enjoy my break, my
I
downtime.
feel you.
I'm doing as many things as possible.
Yeah,
Are you doing this too?
honestly, like I think I can't even go and brush my teeth without having like Prime or Netflix on. Like 2 minutes of my
No.
day, 2 minutes, but I will always bring my phone to watch something. Like I'm very aware that it's probably wrong, but I just can't help it. I'm
Uh,
trying. I'm trying. It's one of my New Year's resolutions to try. But I mean, we're nearly in March and I haven't tried very hard.
don't even remind me about my New Year's resolutions. I have met only one of them. I've only
Well,
met one of
that's
them.
probably
Um,
statistically a lot more than any other people. So go for it. Well,
my resolution was to have a list of resolutions. Tick.
I take it back.
Write down. No, but even like my friends, right? Have you heard of Dropout? They used to be College Humor on YouTube. So now they're called Dropout. They have their own app,
Okay.
and they have all this fun video content on that app. They play D&D.
Right.
So Brennan Lee Mulligan, he's one of the like cast of Dropout, and he hosts these games among other people. And this is really really interesting, but they're very long. They're very long because D&D campaigns, Dungeons and Dragons campaigns, can go on for days, months, years. So they package, seasons into these like really lengthy episodes. And my friends, they'll be cooking, they'll be having breakfast, they'll be on the road, they're always listening to these. And it's weird because in the midst of our shrinking attention span, in the midst of overstimulation, we are seeing a split between short form content and long form content, but they've seemed to flip it.
Yeah.
They seem to have been flipped because TikTok has now started allowing long form content. Video essays are still doing really great on YouTube, and other platforms are also following suit. And blogs and things that used to be quite lengthy and provide tons of information are getting shorter and shorter and shorter, and more like visual rather than textual. So there's a lot of images, and there'll be videos embedded in it, weird little quirky animations, things to just keep people reading. How have y'all been dealing with this? Like split as well. Have you been sort of adapting or changing how you usually create content?
Yeah. So in terms of like how we're creating content here, I think it's different because I always have to step out of the way that I would consume content and kind of remember who our target customer is and how they interact with content and what's important to them. So a lot of ours is B2B, so it'll be LinkedIn, but we have started to use a lot more video because people always assume that like LinkedIn would never be like a video based platform, but I think that's definitely changing. Um, so our strategy for 2024, which I'm currently writing, that has a lot of like video content in there. And what we're basically going to do is record like a long form or a long form of content. So it'll probably be for our YouTube channel. And then what we're going to do then is repurpose all of that and make it into smaller short forms to kind of counteract this flip. So we'll have both, and it's just efficient as well. Um, but in terms of myself, in terms of how I'm like consuming content across there from the brands that I interact with, or even just the accounts, I think yeah, it's bad. I know, like, I definitely get that dopamine rush from the quick stimuli, and I think that's the issue. But I think I can't remember. Was it Socrates? He used to get really. He used to say that he didn't even want to write because having that distraction could nearly make us forget things quicker. I'm really dumbing that down right now. But I think that is a worry for me, and having that stimuli and constantly being distracted, like my attention span is just depleted so much. But I think nearly like I've seen an interest. It's funny because it's actually on TikTok that I've seen it. There was this lady, and she said that by depleting our attention spans continuously, like short form videos on TikTok, in doing so, they're actually decreasing the value of things that they're trying to promote. And it made me think like it's actually quite funny because you don't see any like luxury houses like churning out content, even though their customer still is on social media. They're actually realizing like no, like we don't want to cheapen our offering. Um, and then I think that's funny because I don't think there's a coincidence now why TikTok's suddenly pushing long form
Yeah.
content. Do you know what I mean? So
Yes.
I think it's like adapting and determining how people are perceiving things now, and they're trial and error in that a lot.
Absolutely. I do agree with you. And I think that it's very much just sort of like a vision of the future as well, because this whole, because you go on YouTube, back in the day when I was younger, when I was a few years younger, because I'm still young, there used to be a lot of YouTubers who would put out like 5 to 7 minute or 12-minute videos, and they used to do really well. Or they used to be like 1 minute skits back in the day. But now you go on YouTube, you have your YouTube shorts, you have these massive video essays with millions of views, and these people tend to be the most popular. So that middle area is kind of disappearing, I feel. Maybe it's just me, maybe it's just my perception of it, but I feel like that middle area is kind of shifting. And I find that most people are either into the shorts or they're into the long form content, but there is significant overlap there. And I don't know, it's very much just sort of like a little glimpse into what the future might look like for content. But what about the future of the people who create content? That's the other concern, because SEMrush released a report, and they actually highlighted the content related job listings globally from 2022 to 2023, to be more precise, September 2022 to November 2023, that there was a massive drop in job listings for content related roles. And like you could see, for example, content marketing manager, a negative 45% drop in listings. And content marketing specialist, negative 45% again. Marketing director, 49%. And more. Content creators saw 58% drop. And these are just the middle
Wow.
middle ground ones, because copywriters and content producers saw a 75% drop, which is massive. So it is a little bit concerning, but why do you think there was such a massive drop from 2020 and 2022 to end 2023?
I see from looking at those numbers, and I know where people's heads are going. Like it's that fear mongering thing. It's like AI is taking over. Like, but I don't think it's that. I think we're in, well, certainly in the UK, we're in a recession. And I think that just characterizes the demand for these types of roles. But I think ultimately the issue there is that it'll all lead to a decrease in quality of the content being produced. And I think it's really unfortunate because content is king at the minute. I think the demand for like user generated content that could probably come into it as well, because there's obviously that win-win
Yeah.
situation from the exposure for the influencer and for the brand as well. So, I think everyone's trying to cut the fat and become more lean and find new ways of creating content and becoming more efficient with it. And I think that probably has been an offset from content or design specific roles, because there's only a certain amount of skill sets, or like specific skill set that you can get from those people. And I think like people are probably merging roles or trying to like outsource and get multiple things from different people, even if they have different titles. I think it's important to like look at where this data is coming from, and why those numbers are the way they are. I think there's a lot more discussion to be had around it, as opposed to just that like, oh god, they don't want content creators anymore.
Yeah, I do think that there might be like multiple different reasons why this has
Yeah,
happened, but of course, most people would, I guess, assume that AI is
yeah,
coming for our
exactly.
jobs. There's no way we can prove it or disprove it right now because we don't really have anything beyond this information. I guess we'll know in about 5 years' time.
Yeah.
Let's see. But it is interesting that that there is a possibility that the role itself has evolved
Mhm.
beyond the standard definition, because I I haven't met someone who is just a
Yeah.
copywriter beyond the early career level in a long time. I haven't met anyone who's like just all I do is copywriting, all I do is write a couple
Mhm.
lines for adverts and stuff. I haven't seen any in a while, and that got me thinking, have our roles really changed, and is just having a copywriter the same as it used to be? Certainly not. Not all of us can be Neil French, write long form copies to sell a car or cigarettes or whiskey or something. We can't do that anymore. I mean, it's just not how the world works. But what exactly can these hopefuls who may have just thought, hey, I'd like to write copy or I'd like to create content, but I don't know how to enter this field or like how to navigate this this new maze, what can they do? That's what we're going to talk about now, because we want to like kind of discuss what is the ideal marketing candidates profile for 2024.
Yeah, so I think there's multiple things that you can do. I think it's about having like a baseline knowledge of marketing. Um, Speaking of attention span, my emails. I'm sorry. um, but I think it's about exposing yourself to different fields of marketing and having that awareness. I mean, I'm a bit of a generalist marketer, so I feel like I dip my toe into multiple ponds anyway, but I kind of oversee all of the specialties and just manage that as nearly like a project manager within the marketing realm for Ripple. Um, so in terms of what we look for whenever we're wanting an expert in something, I think if they have an awareness that the overall strategy, their work needs to be aligned with the overall strategy, I think that's really important. So if they have like that strategic mindset that like, right, we're not in a single lane here, like there's multiple things going on and they need to marry up with what we're doing to give that cohesive experience to our customers. I think that's really important. So I would say,
Absolutely.
yeah, I'd probably say like start dipping your toes into multiple things. It doesn't mean that you need to become an expert in every single thing, but find your thing and then see what complements that, because there will be a lot of things to complement it. Like I know like our SEO people, like a lot of them work with copywriters. So if you have that like experience with SEO, you can go down the line of SEO, content optimization, and that'll open so many different avenues, and you're fulfilling that like copywriter thing without putting yourself into a niche of a position where people won't want to hire you anymore. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. And I guess I'd also consider myself a little more general. I'm not very, I don't work within like a niche of
Yeah.
marketing. It's years of working across several industries. We're all quite, I think most marketing professionals are like that. I've never seen a marketing professional who's always been in a silo, who only knows how to function within that one little space. So that remains important, except I guess now, in addition to the knowledge and experience that you gather, you need to also know how to work with certain digital tools and also upskill in certain areas. Like, do you have any recommendations for some tools that they can start using or learning how to use? What are you learning how to use? Maybe you could recommend something and some areas that they can upskill in.
Yeah, so I think like there's so many courses out there and it can get quite overwhelming. But one thing that I actually have started using is LinkedIn to find courses, to find people who are doing the courses as well. Because I feel like the thought of doing online courses sometimes stresses me out. Like I need that accountability side. So it's quite nice to find courses through LinkedIn that, people are leading you through, and it might just be over like the laptop, but that's fine. I still have that accountability aspect to it. But for me and what I'm learning at the minute, I'm doing a like B2B specific strategy course. So it's all about marketing strategy specifically for B2B, because I used to be B2C, and now being B2B, I feel like I was missing certain things and I needed to have the confidence to be able to say, no, this is what we need to move forward with. Um, but from that, I'm probably going to do like some online AI courses, and just like how to integrate that into the processes that we're currently using. I think that's kind of the line that I'm going to go down. I haven't researched any specific yet, but I'm like eating my own cake and saying, yeah, we work with it, not against it. Like, yeah, but I think that's the next step for me. But yeah, putting that as part of the strategy as well, I think that'll be important.
Absolutely. I think I've seen a lot of people sort of talk about the importance of B2B content creation, and like it's a much larger pool of the people who consume your content. And I'm guessing your strategy itself has sort of shifted to accommodate that. But we're seeing an overall change in consumer behavior in general. And, a few years ago, I would say maybe like 10 years ago, there was a period of awakening in amongst the general public. Not 10 years ago, maybe longer. I think I'm kind of like mentally stuck in 2017 forever, but maybe like 15 to 20 years ago, there was a lot more people just going, yeah, this advertisement makes me want to buy this product. It looks so cute. The song is so great. This is definitely something I need for a problem I do not have. And we saw the opposite sort of ideology kind of crop up over the past few years towards, with the youngest millennials and the oldest Gen Zs. And now we're seeing a different sort of like more changes in consumer behaviors. What have you noticed, and how has your strategy evolved to accommodate this?
Yeah, I think customers are a lot less trustworthy. And I think that's because of that massive, knowledge bank that we have now, and especially with like peer-to-peer reviews and everything like that. I think it's made people become a bit more apprehensive of marketing and whether they trust what you're saying. So I think how we're adapting that is nearly by saying, no, we're not, like we are the experts, but we're not using that in our wording. We're kind of showcasing the educational part of it to, walk them through that customer journey and be like, this is what you need to understand about what we do to showcase the value to you, and to make you actually realize this is why we're worth your money being invested in. I think that's kind of how we're approaching it at the minute. Um, because yeah, it's such a competitive field out there, and it can be hard to make noise amidst all of the noise, or hard to be heard
Absolutely.
amongst all of the noise. It's probably a better term, but yeah, I think it's how we actually speak to our customers. I think that's one of the most important things that we're taking forward now.
Absolutely. And also, aside from, of course, standing out amidst all the noise, like you said, is definitely a major concern. It's a concern for us, it's a concern for everybody. But what do you personally feel like, aside from that, what do you think is the biggest or the next big challenge in marketing? And how would you recommend students and interns who, are hoping to enter this field, how would you recommend that they approach it?
I feel like I'm just like a broken record when it comes to this, but I think the biggest challenge in AI or in marketing at the minute is AI. I think, there's so much generative content out there, and it can be so easy to fall into the trap of using that, and because it's an easy win sometimes, and you think, oh, that's exactly what I wanted, so we'll use it. But I think especially like in your portfolio and stuff like that, showcase how you have used it, but how that isn't the be all and end all of your ideas. Use it to facilitate your ideas and showcase the journey of using it. I think that's really important. I think generative text is so easy to spot right now. It's like, do not fall into that trap. Like, don't. Like, why would you do it? So again, working with it, not against it, and use it to your advantage where you
Yeah.
can. Don't just assume that that will be the winning ticket. Have that personalized approach to it as well, because I think it'll be appreciated a lot more, especially now whenever there is so much um content out there that hasn't been created by humans. I think everyone will be yearning for it at some point.
Yeah. I completely agree with you. It's also about, that human touch is kind of what helps set the content apart. So I don't think that, of course, unless it's like an email that you're trying to send your colleague where you're just like, I've got a bunch of messy information, ChatGPT, make it
Yes,
clean, copy paste. That's something I'm like, I wouldn't even think twice about it. Like, I've seen this exact same intro 5,000
that's
times.
yeah,
It's okay.
yeah,
It's just that when when you're trying to do something creative, when you're trying to show that this piece of work is actually something that I've actually put in a lot of effort for, and you want to kind of like set that aside, set it apart,
yeah.
you need to have that touch. I think that is expected. uh, and that is quite expected in the industry. It's not, no one ever goes, hey, just put it in ChatGPT and that's it. Okay, we can publish this and we're going to pay you for this.
Yeah.
That's not how
You'd
it
be
works.
surprised at the amount of people that chance their arm trying to do it.
I feel like I don't, maybe I will be surprised, maybe I won't, because in my head I'm just like, it's way too common.
Yeah,
Muslim, I was actually teaching my cousin recently, and he sent me an article that he'd written because he wanted to know how to write articles. And I was like, bro, did this go through ChatGPT? I said, yes. I said, at least switch it up a bit. I mean, it's fine if you use it to organize your
yeah.
information. It's okay. But I've never seen you write like this, and I've known you literally all your life.
No,
Don't lie to me. I gave you homework. Give me something more than this.
I think
You
that's the
know?
thing. Like, there's courses out there to show you how to use it to your advantage, and it's probably better to do
Right.
that than try and just have it be a quick win for you, because ultimately you're never going to be winning if you're using that as a quick win.
Absolutely. Yeah, agree. And unfortunately, that is kind of all the time that we've had. But last
Yeah.
question, and we always ask this,
Okay.
could you give us a piece of unconventional advice?
So, oh, I've been toying between this because I'm just like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of what the best I've ever given. Right, well, I'm gonna give it. It's like
Go
probably
ahead.
give back before you're ready. Gonna get like spiritual, not spiritual. I won't put that on you. Um, but I'm always like a big believer in like what you give, you will receive, and I think it probably comes back to internships. Like if you showcase that you have that drive and the determination and the willingness to work, it can only be received well, and I think you can only ultimately benefit from that at the end of the day. So I think that comes back to it, like give back before you're ready. Like even if you're not ready to take on a big task, show interest in it. Say you want to do part of it, get involved with parts of it. You might not be ready to take it all on, but you can still give parts of yourself to that task, and ultimately then it'll help you progress in your career a little bit quicker. Yeah, that's probably what I'd say. Maybe it's probably not that
That's really nice
unconventional.
advice.
Thank you.
That's really nice. It's a very sweet piece of advice, I think, because it adds like, hey, this give more, give back. It will be
Yeah,
rewarded. And I'm not making fun of you. I'm just like it's so sweet. Um,
I'm all about
I mean, yes, please do your best.
I sound like a live, laugh, love girl. Like,
Just like a big like a crocheted blanket with live up. But no, that's I feel like now we've just pissed off a bunch of amazing people, wonderful people,
this is what
an
I'm
entire
nervous.
wonderful community. There's nothing wrong with living, laughing, and loving. Uh, but this has been such a great conversation. It's been so good to have you back. And thank you so much for your time.
Thank
We
you.
really appreciate all your insights. And a big thank you to our audience who've just stuck with us to the very end. Please do reach out to us if you have any questions or any topics you'd like us to cover because we are always listening. Follow us on LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, and check out our website and go read our blogs. And of course, please do listen to us on Spotify, Apple Music, and on YouTube. That's like all the platforms. Do you see how difficult? Do you see how hard it is to be a content creator? There we go. Okay, thank you so much, everybody, and I'll see you again next time.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.